It is a mistake, if it is still written in historical education books, that the ancestors of the archipelago Nusantara Indonesia were primitive and embraced animism, dynamism. Check out the clarification. Animism, from the Latin anima, or spirit, is belief in spirits and spirits. Believes that every object, cave, tree, large stone, has a soul that must be respected so that this spirit does not disturb humans. Dynamism is worship against the spirits of ancestors who have died residing in certain places, such as big trees. Only because the publication and propaganda of the original teachings of the archipelago was labeled animism, dynamism. The fact is that there is no native Indonesian culture as mentioned above, that in fact the original teachings of the archipelago already know God. Before the religion of the immigrants entered this country. The Talatang teaching mentions God Almighty, Dewata Suwai. Parmalim Batak said, Mulahadi na balone. Marapu culture says, Mawulu Tau Maji Tau, creator and maker of man or God Almighty. The Asmat culture already knows God. Also, heaven, Au Kapanmi nature now. Dampu Au Kapanmi a natural stopover. Sofar, heaven. Bali calls God, Asintia. He who cannot be imagined. The unthinkable. Ida sang Hyong witty ways. Not. Krishna. God in Kaharingan teachings is called Yestuha Latala. While in West Kotawaringan it is called Sanghyang Dewata. It is not true that the indigenous culture of the primitive archipelago. And this labeling becomes correct after we agree to calculate the beginning of the Saka year in the inscription starting in 78 AD. So it becomes logical that the history of the archipelago did not exist before that year. Then the right word is primitive. In fact, in the archipelago in 610 BC there was already a scientist. The 7 treatises on valid cognition is the work of Svarnadvipa Dharmakirti. He has compiled and produced major works in the field of scientists, namely the 7 major science sections of validity, recognition, and the science of the smallest particle, atom. Many of the ancestral sciences of the Nusantara nation, if we observe it with science, already above the achievements of current science, academically proving the fact that we are not primitive. Among them, shield yourself with black stone radiation technique, so as not to be seen by the opponent. The ability to collaborate well with nature has been mastered by our ancestors. Several places in Sangbo Regency, including in Batu Sampai and Pangkor Aji, Malay Hulu Kalimantan will each build a country. Always first implanted a black stone, planted in the cardinal directions. The graphite, black stone slabs are stacked at least 7 layers. According to the thickness of the rock, scientifically it is understood to eliminate the Earth's pull or gravitational force. So that if the land comes under enemy attack, it can become a shield. Research scientist prove that the stability of the magnetic field with the Earth's poles can be achieved with the black stone plate, which has been heated back and forth at high heat. The meaning: if the enemy is still outside the territory of the country, the infrared from the black stone can create an illusion. To the enemy's eyes there would be a transparent effect invisible as an object. The science explanation is as below. Research on the effects of black body radiation, which can make an object invisible between 1850 and 1900, which cannot be explained without the concept of quantum. Quantum physics in general, together with general relativity, is one of the pillars of modern physics. The basis of quantum mechanics is that energy is not continuous, but discrete, in the form of packets, or quanta. Quantum mechanics evolved from Max Planck's 1900 solution to the black body radiation problem, reported 1859. And Albert Einstein's 1905 paper which offered a quantum-based theory to explain the photoelectric effect of 1887. 1896. Wilhelm Wien empirically determined the law of blackbody radiation distribution. A black body radiates energy at all frequencies, but its intensity rapidly tends to zero at high frequencies, short wavelengths. For example, a black object at room temperature of 300 K with a surface area of 1 square meter will release photons in the visible range 390 to 750 nm. With an average velocity of 1 photon every 41 seconds, this means that black objects do not release in the visible range. And at temperatures above that there will be another effect in the form of photon release over the visible range, 390 to 750 nm, namely, invisible. Planck's law states, I nu, T is the power, energy per unit time, radiated per unit surface area released in the normal direction per unit solid angle per unit frequency by a black body at temperature T, also known as spectral radiance. H is Planck's constant. C is the speed of light in a vacuum. K is the Boltzmann constant. Nu is the frequency of electromagnetic radiation. T is the absolute temperature of the object. 1905 Albert Einstein translated the quantum Planck hypothesis and used it to explain the photoelectric effect, where light rays on some objects can remove electrons from the material. Atom is usually described as a system in which electrons, which have a negative electric charge, circulate around a positively electrically charged nucleus. According to quantum mechanics, when an electron moves from a higher energy level, e.g. from n equals 2 or second atomic shell, to a lower energy level, e.g. n equals 1 or first tier atomic shell, the energy is a light particles, called photons, are released. The energy released can be defined. Evidence from the theory of quantum mechanics. In the mass spectrometer, it has been shown that the spectral lines of the ionized atom are not continuous, only at certain frequencies, wavelengths, visible, spectral lines. Means that there is a certain frequency that causes an object to be invisible. This is what our previous ancestors did among them in the Kalimantan area. So delete all the words that call the ancestors of the archipelago to embrace animism, dynamism. That the concept of teaching beliefs that adhere to the ideology, one God, originates and comes from here. The Indonesian archipelago was advanced previously whose scientific knowledge exceeded current science. Remember again about the sentence below. While these people have not yet received a tenth of what we have given to those former people. And that former is our ancestor Nusantara Indonesia. By Santo Saba.